I hope you are as blessed to have a friend in your life as I have in my friend, Greg Heeres. Greg and I have known each other for over 30 years. We were born on the same day, although Greg is slightly older than I am, so I enjoy referring to him as my older brother. If you've ever seen our leadership podcast that we call the Craig and Greg Show, you'll see us sitting at a table just talking about different leadership topics. That would be very similar to what you would hear and see if you joined us in the bagel shop where we sat down or where we're having lunch together. The only difference is on our podcast, we do a fairly decent job of staying on topic. When it's just the two of us, we sort of run down some rabbit trails and then eventually get back to the topic that we are discussing. One time, one of those rabbit trails was just a story that Greg told me just off the cuff about something that his grandmother said to him. And I stopped him and I said, that is a fantastic story. I hope that you have that written down somewhere because that story could be a blessing to other people. What I didn't know is that Greg had a lot more stories like that, stories that he put down into this fabulous book called Sage Advice. You're going to love this book. I know that I'm very biased in telling you that the author is a quality guy and what you're going to read are very enjoyable stories. But let me let you hear how Greg describes that seed thought that grew into this book. And then in the show notes, I've shared some links for you. I have a link there to a book review, a completely unbiased and impartial book review that I published. And you can also find a link to the Craig and Greg Show, our leadership podcast. And most importantly, I've shared a link where you can pick up a copy of Sage Advice for yourself. Check this out.
I was with a really good friend, and he asked me some questions about my upbringing. And I just kind of went into a story about my grandma. So I'm left-handed. My dad had a difficult time finding me a baseball glove. I got a new baseball glove left-handed at 4 years old. I was with my grandparents quite a bit. They had a lot of influence. My parents were outstanding. My grandparents were outstanding, both sides. Playing catch with my grandma. And I had a pretty good arm, but it wasn't accurate at 4 years old. And it was a hot summer day, and I was pretty excited. And my grandma had to go get a few, ill-thrown balls in the neighbor's yard. And after a while, I could tell she was tired. And I said, well, I'll go get them. And then I got tired. And she goes, hey, let's just sit out on the porch and have a popsicle. So I said, I love that. But I do want my orange popsicle. I love orange popsicles. And she goes, we're, cooling off a little bit. And she goes, hey, you want to know something? I'm 4. My grandma walked on water. Yeah, tell me. You want to know what you're going to be when you grow up? Yeah, whoever you hang around. And that got me. And it even got me today when I share it in front of the camera, that sort of powerful advice is out there on a regular basis to us if we pay attention, if we're coachable. And my grandma hit me right between the eyes on who you hang around will determine who you're going to be. And I hope these stories like this, they're pretty, they're average stories, they're life stories for me, but I hope they instill to people like to reflect and go buy the book and apply it and maybe even thank their parents or grandparents while they're still around for the advice they got for a better life, a better direction, or a correction.